In the last section, we looked at how we begin, how we break ice with the audience and use greetings, eye contact and body language to make an impression. As I said, but body language and making an impact visually is important to a presentation, but it's not everything. It's also what you have to say, your content, your words, your language, your main idea that is equally or even more important in making a presentation. Now let's look at how does one deliver a presentation. In this section, I would look at two things. What are the 4 different ways of making a presentation, of delivering a presentation? The second is how to make openings, and the third is how to state your main purpose and your central idea and state the order in which you will proceed. So let's now dissect the different parts of our presentation and see how we proceed after we've greeted our audience and have struck a rapport with our audience. We stopped there in the last unit. Now let's move on to how to begin the presentation. You have to think of a presentation as a journey in which you take your audience along with where you're going, where you want them to go, and it's your role to guide them through that journey. And in order to, if you think of a presentation like a journey, you have to think of how you're going to frame your story, how you're going to frame your presentation. That's very important. The difference between a good presentation and a bad presentation is that one presentation has no central idea. It doesn't have a central framing as to what you really want to say. You're merely putting down all the information, but you really don't have a central idea about what you want to say. Remember, people are not interested in getting information. Today particularly, they can get all the information they want from different sources. What people are looking for is, what do you have to say about this subject? What's your take on it? And remember, people like listening to stories. Since times immemorial, people have loved listening to stories. So frame your presentation. Think of a narrative in which you will embed this presentation, and then take your audience on a journey in which they move along with you slowly, the way you want them to move. So once you've got the framing down, it's time to focus on your delivery. There are 4 ways, not just 3 ways, but 4 ways which I stated at the beginning of making a presentation. You can read directly off a script or a teleprompter. So you can watch me or you can memorize your talk, which entails rehearsing it to the point where you internalize every word verbatim. Now what happens if you're reading? Now watch me. Don't read it and don't use a teleprompter. It's usually just too distancing. People will know you are reading, and as soon as they sense it, the way they receive your talk will shift. Suddenly, your intimate connection evaporates and everything feels a lot more formal. So this is what happened when I was reading from this teleprompter in front of me. Instead of that, if I memorize, that's the other way, and we find people, new learners in particular, they tend to memorize each and every word of what they are trying to say. And in this situation, what happens is I've sat through presentations of our students who have memorized every phrase, every gesture, every pause. They have rehearsed it time and time again. So they've done it, and it's when you sit through a presentation like that, it sounds so perfect. It sounds so but it also sounds so pat because there's no flaw in it. It's as if someone has mugged up, like in school we used to mug up the poems. Someone has mugged up each and every word and they reproduce it. The problem with this is, what happens if you forget? It happens to people that you forget what you wanted to say since you've memorized each and every word. What do you do then? You have a very awkward moment because you forget your lines. And this also happens when in the middle of a presentation, if I ask somebody to stop and clarify something, I find that that person loses their nerve. They get very awkward because they have rehearsed it in a particular manner and they not prepared for any breaks. So most people go through what somebody has called the valley of awkwardness, where they haven't quite memorized the talk. If they give the talk while stuck in that valley, the audience will sense it. Their words will sound recited, or there will be a painful moment where they stare into a middle distance or cast their eyes upward as they struggle to remember the lines. So this creates, we are doing a style of delivery, we are looking at a style of delivery which enables you to make contact with your audience. Remember, we stopped with how you made contact with your audience, eye contact, you distributed your eye contact, you smiled at everyone and you greeted them. Now, if you start reading from that point onwards, either from your slides or from your notes or from a text, you have immediately lost contact. Now, the next thing is, or if you have memorized, you forget to make eye contact because you are focusing on your words, you are focusing on remembering what you want to say. So the third way is more suitable for adult learners, is to make notes. If you don't have, you can make your notes, and now there are two things about making notes. In the olden days, we used to use cards on which we made notes before the days of the PPT, and we would have these little slips of paper, or we'd have note cards where we'd jot down the main points, and if we were stuck, we didn't remember a particular detail, only then we'd glance at the notes, or we'd quickly glance at our notes and then move on to the next, explain the point and move on to the next point. Today PPTs, the PowerPoint presentation system, has made us very lazy, in my opinion. So we have people who put all the information they have got on a PPT and they just read out. Some people even make the mistake of cutting and pasting from different sources, so they haven't even assimilated the information they have got, but they put it on a PPT and they just read it out from the PPT. Students tend to do that very often. The other alternative is people who put down the text of their report or their paper on a PPT and they read to the audience. That's the other option. If you must use your PPTs, you must you must not put too much text on a PPT. You must use only bullet points. So just like we did for notes on index cards, just put your bullet points on PPTs and explain the rest instead of reading from the PPT. Making notes, that's the third option, and the fourth option, I don't have a PPT for this, but experienced speakers tend to do that. They also do what is called impromptu speaking, where they neither use notes nor do they use slides, they don't memorize, they don't read from something. Now, it's something which comes with experience. After a period of time, you learn to make presentations without having to consult your notes or without having to memorize, because you have such a wealth of experience that you can draw on that wealth of experience to find examples, to quote, to provide data. It's rare, but there are people who do that. And if you are one of those lucky people, go ahead and use impromptu speaking. I cannot forget a speech which I heard in this campus. We have a Tagore Memorial Lecture once a year, and we had a professor of economics who was the professor of the leading economist, Professor Martha Sen. This was his professor, and you can't imagine the treat it was listening to him, because he used neither PPTs nor did he read from a text as we are used to in lectures. People read from text, or they use a PPT, or they use notes. This professor gave a talk on welfare, I recall, and I recall each and every word of what he said, because without using any notes, without any PPTs, he really led us through that journey through which even a layperson like myself, who doesn't understand complex concepts in economics, and mind you, he was explaining very complex concepts, but the way he explained them, by the end of the presentation, which was 45 minutes long, each of us knew how he moved from one point to the other, from the second point to the third, and then to his conclusion. By the end of it, all of us could understand what welfare is, or what a welfare state is. So try this. Remember, there are two things which are important in deciding what delivery you use. One is your own comfort zone. What are you most comfortable doing? If you don't remember things, don't try to memorize. If you are not if you don't have the gift of the gab and you can't compose your words immediately, don't try impromptu. But sometimes it's also the occasion which demands that people use a particular mode of delivery. You would find that people in authority, particularly heads of states, or people who are making statements to the press, you always find them reading from a text. Why do they do it? Experienced veteran leaders, veteran speakers, why do they read a speech instead of delivering it? So the same person, say the Prime Minister, who would in an election campaign will use an impromptu speech, will resort to reading from a text if he is speaking in Parliament, or if he is giving a press conference. Why? They do this because you cannot afford to be misquoted. There is going to be a record, and if you use a word which is inappropriate, or you make a commitment, you make a statement which is inaccurate or not factually correct, you will get into a lot of trouble. So in these situations, people tend to read. From choosing how to deliver a presentation, now let's move on to the next important aspect of delivering a presentation, which I did mention in the last lecture also, was about the importance of an opening. I said that it's not enough, as we do, to just make an introduction. It's equally important that we write an opening. Why do we need an opening? We need an opening because when we are asked to make a presentation, we have to strike a rapport with our audience. So we need to use some kind of icebreaker which helps us to establish a rapport with our audience. So all the things we showed you yesterday, we demonstrated to you, making eye contact, smiling, greeting, all these are tricks, all these are strategies you need to use in order to break the ice and strike a rapport with your audience. Now I return to the 30-second rule which I spoke about yesterday. In the 30-second rule, we said there are 12 ways to hook an audience in 30 seconds. So if you haven't got your audience in the first 30 seconds, you haven't got them at all. And I have it on the authority of David Ogilvy, who is the father of modern advertising. He said, when you advertise fire extinguishers, open with the fire. And this is the advice for making your presentation. Apply this advice when you're making your presentation. You have to grab, these are called attention grabbers, these are called hooks. You have to use these hooks to grab the attention of your audience. There are different ways in which you can grab your audience's attention. I will show you 12 different ways in which you can hook your audience. And these I have borrowed from Bruna Martinuzzi, who is the president and founder of Clarion Enterprises Limited. We can learn from advertising people to how to hook, because you know that advertising personnel work with time constraints. So, suppose you are buying time on television and you have to get the attention of your audience, you are paying a hell of a lot of money for a 30-second commercial, and that is why advertising folks are used to grabbing your attention in the first 30 seconds. What are the different ways you can hook an audience? Use a contrarian approach. Ask a series of rhetorical questions. Deliver a compelling soundbite. Make a startling assertion. Provide a reference to a historical event. Use the word imagine. Add a little show business. Arouse curiosity. Use quotations differently. Quote a foreign proverb. Take them through what if scenario. Tell them a story. Now remember, whenever you are choosing these hooks, you must do what works for you. Don't ever think of doing something which doesn't work for you. And I must share this experience, my own experience. When the first time I was asked to speak to a group of mid-level executives, I wasn't really used to doing training programs for mid-level executives. I was more used to dealing with students, a younger profile of learners. So, when I was asked to make these presentations, I did not make an opening, or I made an opening which was not appropriate. So, I tried copying my colleagues, my other colleagues, maybe who were more senior colleagues or my more or male colleagues, and I'd say, okay, now let me do this, let me see this, because I found that if their lectures are going well, maybe my lectures will also go well. So, I found that most of my male colleagues in the management, in the IIMs would use humor. They would use humor to strike a rapport with the audience. So, there was this very majority of the audience, majority of the executives in those in that particular program were male. So, there would be some kind of male joke, and there will be a lot of guffaws and lot of buddy feeling between them. Now, I said, when I shared this with my friend, now this is how this person got a very good feedback and his lecture was appreciated. I was warned, don't you do it, because don't do anything which doesn't work, doesn't suit your style. If your style is not humor, don't ever dare to attempt it. Now, make something. What happens is, sometimes people follow these rules to the letter, and they try something which is not their style. Suppose you make a startling assertion. So, you begin with a bang because you are making a startling assertion, but after that you fall flat because that is not really your style. Or you use a historical event and you do not really have a grasp on history, or you use a quotation. So, if you use a quotation and you are not good at remembering the phrases, it is not a very good strategy. But people, some of us who love reading, who love reading poetry, or who love reading quotations, and we can reproduce them at the drop of a hat, we do tend to use quotations. And sometimes there is nothing like a quotation when you are making an opening to as an affect, the affect it creates on the audience. Telling them a story, you could tell them a story. That is one way of grabbing your audience's attention. Now, there are some of us who are very good at telling stories, some of us are not good at telling stories. If you are going to tell a story and you are not good at telling stories, don't you try it. Try it if you are good at telling stories, because people love listening to stories, but they like listening to stories which they can relate to. So we had a former director who was again a very good speaker, who would make impromptu speeches, because every other day he would have to make a speech to different group of people, and I never see him rehearsing or preparing his speech, because he was moving from one inauguration function to another inauguration function. But I was amazed that at each inaugural he'll find something new to say, something interesting to say, because he was 80 plus, and he had this, this great experience as a academic as well as a person. So all he would do is he would draw on some anecdote in his long and distinguished career and relate it to the topic at hand, to get the audience's attention, and he will proceed in that manner, but he would hold us all spellbound. So do it if you can copy him, but don't attempt a style that doesn't work for you. Now we have for you illustrations, examples of 12 different of several kinds of openers that you can use for yourself. You can choose one or any of them that works for you. From hooks, we move on to tailoring your presentation. How do you tailor your presentation? I'll return to this when I talk about the language of presentation. So most important is, as we said, who is very important in the what. So the who is, who are you making this presentation for? So suppose you're making a presentation for experts, does it really help them to give them all the preliminary information, all the basic information related to the topic? No, because you're making it to an expert audience. Now if you're making it to new audience, then maybe it's wise to give very basic information. For instance, suppose I was making a presentation on making presentation before trainers or before colleagues, then I would not do it like the way I'm doing it today, or I'm doing it in these lectures. The way I would do it is, I would just share some strategies which have worked for me. I wouldn't go into how one should do it line by line. Instead of that, I would say, okay, how about trying this new kind of opening, or how about doing it this way? So I would just share techniques, because I assume that everyone knows how to make a presentation and they are only interested in exchanging ideas. So always tailor make your presentation for your audience. Now in these you have to do three things which we'll return to later. Use appropriate language, always use appropriate language. Take examples from your own experience and analogies from theirs. So whenever you're talking about something, you have to make the audience identify with what you're explaining. Remember, audience don't like listening to facts and figures, numbers, concepts. They're very boring for them, because it's a new area. Now how do you explain something which is unfamiliar to somebody, a concept which is unfamiliar, or if you bombard them with numbers, you say, okay, if I don't understand numbers, I just switch off. I want to know, okay, what do these numbers mean? So what you need to do is, you have to give examples from your own experience. Now this is also tricky, because some of us don't have the requisite the kind of experience that is needed to make to be able to do it. Maybe we don't have examples from our own life. Suppose the area is different for you. So I'm an academic, I don't have examples from the corporate world. When I'm talking about presentations, I'm giving you examples from my own experience as an academic. Now if I were making a presentation like this in the corporate world, they would not be impressed with these examples, because they would like to know, they would have more respect for you if you give examples from the corporate world. Now since I confess that I don't have that experience and I'm not going to make it up, my solution would be I could put together the experiences of people. I could illustrate that from the experiences or examples of people within the corporate world, what they would say. But it won't be as personalized then like it is now. and analogies from theirs. Now, you also need to use analogies from their experience. Now, if you are using your experience and your audience experience is not the same, now if you keep using your examples, they do not identify with it, because they say, I mean, it is alien to them. Now, if you want to grab their students, your learners' interest, if you come down to their level and you use an example from them, from their own life, then it cuts some ice with them, it makes an impact on them. So, suppose I am talking about, say, suppose I am giving a talk on racism, and I am teaching a poem, say, on racism, and my students are not literary students, they have no background on that in poetry. So, when I read about this poem or when I explain this poem, they do not relate to it. They say some poet, some dead poet or some living poet in some other part of the world is talking about it. What does it have to do with me? So, suppose I draw their attention to the recent incidents of racism in US, or recent incident of racism in Australia, which might, or in India, so which might happen to them tomorrow. Then probably they would say, and if I ask them a question like, have you ever seen instances of racism in your own family or in your own friends, then probably they will understand what I am trying to say. Involve the whole audience, we will get back to this. And now I will conclude by showing you what you need to do after you have grabbed the attention. Okay, you grabbed the attention of your audience in the first 30 seconds, but it is the first 2 minutes that count. The first 2 minutes you have to get this, you have to, after having got their attention, you need them to understand, you need them to, you need to convince them that you are worth listening to. And how do you do that? You have to sell them an idea. I said great presentations are about framing. You must have a big idea. It is not just enough to say I am going to talk about this topic. That is not enough. You must have a great idea. What are you going to say about this topic? You have to frame it within and construct a story about it. So, suppose I am going to talk about, say, feminism. I am asked to give an overview of feminist theories or feminism. I could just run through chronologically the history of feminism from the 18th century or 19th century to the present and explain different forms of feminism. That would be a very informative presentation, fine. But to make it a good presentation, I have to frame it, like I have to take a standpoint and say, okay, why am I not a feminist? Maybe that is my standpoint. It is very politically incorrect today to say why I am not a feminist. So, my argument is that why I am not a feminist is because I feel that the conceptual aspects of feminism do not translate into the social and legal framework. So, I have taken a standpoint, and then I use the same historical overview with this main framing argument. I could tell stories, I could relate in anecdotes, but framing is very important. Now, after having made your opening and framing your argument, you have to state the purpose. What is the purpose or objective of your presentation? We worked on this even when we were planning the introduction. I said you have to be very clear about what is your main idea, what is your main purpose, what is your central idea. So, you must have a specific purpose as well as a central idea. The specific purpose will be something like, I will inform my audience about the two major forms of performance in India. So, I say the two major forms of performance that have played a role in, I am extrapolating from the slide. This is an example from Hawaii, and so I can say that those who played an important part in Indian history and have developed into unique dances are Bharatanatyam and Kathak. And then I come to main point 1. Let us stop with this, I will come to the points later. So, Now, this purpose, specific purpose differs depending on what kind of talk or what kind of presentation you are giving. If you are giving an informative speeches, which students mostly give, is to give informative speeches, very simple statements like to inform my audience about 3 excellent day hikes in Gulmarg, to inform my audience about the history of the Red Fort, to inform my audience about the plans for the new School of Medical Science and Technology at IIT Kharagpur, to inform my audience about how to tie and dye a shirt, to inform my audience about how agricultural runoff leads to water pollution. So, this will be true for informative speeches, but when we come to persuasive presentations, we can have this is a kind of specific purpose we will have. To persuade my audience that SMST should build another student parking structure, to persuade my audience to California should raise or lower driver's license fees, to persuade my audience that the United States or India should withdraw from the UN, to persuade my audience to boycott guest jeans, to persuade my audience to become organ donors. So, depending on what your purpose is, your statement will differ. Now, the central idea is different from your purpose. You also need to write down your central idea, like in an emergency situation, the heartbreaking method used to stop cars with anti-lock brakes can lock up traditional brakes on older rear wheel and front wheel drive cars. So, you need to have your central idea clearly. But remember, the rules for both for specific purpose and central idea are the same. You need to express each as a single complete sentence, avoid stating the purpose, avoid stating the sentence as a question, use clear language, avoid vague or general statements. The next stage would be you have to state the order. Mentioning the main points to be covered in the body prepares the audience to listen to them. So, this is why you need to state what is your central argument, what is your objective. Now, we will watch some typical statements of purpose or stating of your central argument in the examples that we show you. After having introduced your specific purpose and your central idea, we have to show the order in which we will proceed. Why do we need to do that? Because remember, like I said yesterday, that in the last class, that you cannot, you have to provide oral cues. Since we do not have visual cues, we need to provide oral cues to our audience to show that we are moving from one part to the other. So, when you are moving from say from your opening to your introduction, and then you are how much time you will spend doing each, it is good to state what you will be saying in the body of your presentation and how you will move from one point to the other. So, this preview should be ending with a transition, a brief phrase or a pause to signal to the audience that the speech is now moving out of the introduction and into the body. This is after you have stated the order. So, we will also show you some examples of how you can state the order. After this, we will move on to different audience involvement skills, and most important being repetition. Why is it that we repeat when we are speaking, unlike in writing? In writing, if you repeat something, it appears very redundant, but redundancy is a happy quality in a presentation when you are speaking, because people's attention wanders. When people are listening to you, they tend to veer off, they start thinking in some other direction. So, if you repeat, someone who has missed out what you said the first time will hear it, you said it the second time. So, repetition is a very important aspect of public speaking, for listening is an imperfect art and audience members nearly always tune out in parts, sometimes to think about previous parts of the speech, sometimes for other reasons. So, now how do you engage your audience? You have to use analogies to clarify unfamiliar ideas, as I said. Use samples and illustrations to support the message. You can also use questions as an opportunity to involve your audience, but we tend to think that questions will come at the end. The questions don't have to come in the end. They can come after each key area. Take the question and answer after each key area. So, I conclude by saying that we must know how to make an opening, the different parts of a presentation, how to make an effect, how to frame your presentation first of all, 4 different ways of making a presentation. The third thing we talked about was how to grab the audience's attention. Next would be how to state your main purpose and your objective, and then how to state the order in which you will proceed, and finally how to get your audience's attention.